Hi, we were all over the map in the 2010s. So, welcome back to the Potato Museum show. We're going to be talking about the Global Food Heritage Project and why food heritage matters. The 2010s started out with us being curators of a major exhibit at the National Botanic Garden. You can see the description there that came out of their catalog. It was called Spuds on Earth. There is the Botanic Garden Conservatory. We were in the East Conservatory here, and you can see how close it is to the Washington's the National Capitol building. It's part of the National Capitol office, so visitors would come into the entrance, go through the conservatories, and then enter here to the exhibit, and this is what they would see. They would be greeted by a couple of Peruvians gathering their potatoes. And here we are talking about it.
I remember my dad mashing the potatoes. I remember the sound of him going, yeah.
I remember playing with the mashed potatoes and making the gravy go down in little streams and putting the parsley on as little trees on the mountainside.
Well, it was 1975, and there was an article about all the world's museums, and of all those 20,000 at the time, there were none devoted to the potato.
And it went from a tabletop collection to a passion to collect things about the potato and exhibit food in museums. And here we are now.
Well, this is one of the most ambitious temporary exhibitions that the U.S. Botanic Garden has ever done. You know, we discovered that here are these people that have devoted much of their lives to the potato who could give us lend us some really wonderful artifacts. And it kind of grew.
When we celebrate the potato, we celebrate ourselves. The potato has like 80% water like we do, and it's changed and transformed world history.
It's the most important food plant. It provides more food value per acre than any other planted crop.
People think they know the potato. They think they know it because they've eaten it, but then they come across our interpretation and showing how it's a world phenomenon.
The potato is a native of the Andes in what is today Peru and Bolivia. The potato was carried by the Spanish first to the Canary Islands in about 1570, where it was planted, and then it went to mainland Spain, and then on into Europe and up into northern Europe and so on and so forth. It came back to the Americas, came to New Hampshire in about, 1719, but it came also to Jamestown in about 1620. So it went in a circle, and then many traders carried it to Asia. Captain Cook carried it to New Zealand and Australia, for instance, and it went around the world fairly quickly.
Yeah, I mean, you hear about the Irish potato, you hear about the Idaho potato. It becomes so synonymous with the place where it's been. Before the potato, people couldn't inhabit all year round high mountain valleys in Switzerland and Nepal, the Rocky Mountain West. Once the potato arrived, it is a mountain crop. Although it grows at sea level, it grows in the desert. It made possible people being able to stay in those high mountain valleys year round. It has completely transformed places that it's gone. The garden here is also growing some really great varieties outside. Just outside that window I can see them, including the Ozette potato, which is a very old variety that the people of Neah Bay have been growing for generations.
Because it is so knobbly and comes in so many different colors, it's very much like us. And there's something about it with which we identify.
The potato really has had the largest impact on pop culture that we know of, and yet we love studying all these other foods.
I think it's because it has eyes and it has a face. It has
bulk,
a human look.
The most popular classic toy is Mr. Potato Head and his family. First toy advertised on television. You then have the couch potato movement of the 70s and the 80s to excessive television watching. Then you have a counter movement of saying that no, the potato is an active energy food, and you have do the mashed potato, the dance craze. I mean, every era seems to have use the potato in its culture. Everything about the potato is satisfying to collect and understand, and it's a lifetime pursuit for me. That's what you'll never fully understand this subject, and you'll never fully collect everything about it.
So I want to thank the Smithsonian for that video, which they have up on their YouTube channel. Meredith wrote this. She did almost all the research for this project, the scripts and everything. And this is what she wrote about why we were doing this, why it's so important. Our goal is to answer that question and to reveal the tuber's tale. Here's some of her early listing of artifacts that could be done and some of the scripts. There's a lot of work. She was in New Mexico. I was teaching in Florida, and we would come up for meetings with the staff and with all the other people who were involved in this. But Meredith carried the ball on all of this, and then some friends came to help her get all the exhibits ready and packed. So let's look at this. So yeah, it was a little loud, but you can see the acoustics were in that big conservatory, and lots of people reacting to the exhibit. Here's some other scenes, other parts of the collection and the exhibit. The designers did just a beautiful job to put these things together and to keep them safe. I can see how well done that was. And again, all this was packed up with Meredith's supervision. It was in collection in New Mexico and then sent over to them. And then they put it together, their designers and all that. And we came in for the opening. The original idea was to have a kind of, well, we did have a couch, and people could watch some videos of famous scenes of the potato in movies and listen to it. Our friend Jeffrey Allen Price had this idea to do, but it didn't work out, so we just had the couch and the TV and some screens. The people at Michigan State originated, I guess this is the idea for this exhibit, when they wanted to present some of their work with the Potato Genome Project, which you can get links to at the end of this show. But they came up with this great idea of being able to show the potato in a aeroponic way, so people could uncover the black cloth and see potatoes growing, which was really cool. Again, two different universities, Michigan State with their Genome Project, High-Tech Potato, and North Carolina State with their efforts to determine the origin of the potato blight. Those two scientists offered these panels, of theirs, and that was kind of the beginning of how this took off. And you can see these are the people who put all this together, and the Smithsonian, the Botanic Garden people said, well, we've got these two great displays. Let's see if we can get some more about the potato, and they found us on the internet, and that's how it all happened. Meredith also put together all the materials for a discovery cart, so that the volunteers could be out in the conservatory talking about potatoes and showing people artifacts and pictures that were laminated from our collection. And here's the scripts for the volunteers, and then she trained all the volunteers to do these discovery cards. I don't have a picture of the discovery cards, but it was a big important feature of the program. One night, the Botanic Garden organized this potato nosh with all sorts of great dishes, and people could pay $30 if you're not a member, 35. It was a wonderful event. It was held in the conservatory, and you can see all the different varieties of potatoes and the different things that were offered as treats. And it was delicious and fun, and everybody had a good time, and they also could see the collection, the exhibit, without a lot of other people. Look at some of these specialties, which I was not familiar with, and they were tasty. We did an evening lecture, which was very well received. Lots of good interaction with the public on this. And we've always asked the public to take a good look at the potato, as we have for now 50 years. So another feature was the Wacky Potato Science Fair, a workshop. This was by, you could sign up for this, and we had lots of kids come with their parents and their teachers. And there's the write-up about it. And Meredith again put together all the materials for the volunteers to, and then send all this material over to them. And then they developed with their volunteers these various stations. There's microscopes looking at the potato, extracting starch and seeing how a potato starch was used for first color photography. And you can see how you can make plastic out of potatoes, which are very bioengineering alternative to fossil fuel plastics. Forensics, you could burn, we were burning potato chips to make a little powder that you could use for fingerprinting. There's a whole thing about molecular chemistry. So many wonderful science experiments that you could do with a potato. Density. There was a project in which you could use potato chip packets, you blow them up with air, and launch them as rockets. And then, of course, getting electricity from potatoes. My students down in Florida helped me develop some of these science projects we incorporated into the science curriculum, and they were very, very helpful in trying some of this out. I got so interested when I moved to Florida to teach in Florida food history that I developed, I went all over the state learning about it, and I put what I found into the Tumblr blog, and here's the Julia Tuttle, founder of Miami, and she's got this dress with all sorts of interest, this sculpture of citrus history. Another wealthy woman from the north came down and developed a property on the west coast, Bertha Palmer, and she's a very important person in the development of a number of food crops in the western part of the state. Most people don't know that St. Petersburg used to grow pineapples. Florida was a pineapple producer. And this place, Ted Peters Smoked Fish, was a favorite of ours in St. Petersburg. And they were smoking fish the old-fashioned way. It was just a wonderful experience. And many, many generations have enjoyed this place. And I started collecting all sorts of images and artifacts about Florida food. And I put some of that into my book, Eats Pinellas, Food History of Pinellas County, which is where St. Petersburg, Clearwater are. And it used to be one of the most important food-producing places in the whole state of Florida. I have another book in the works, which is a tour around Florida and food history and food sites. Meredith, when we were in 2009, went up to Alaska, and she got so fascinated with food in Alaska that she created her own Tumblr blog about food Alaska, Eats Alaska. Look, and there's potatoes, and there's one of those king crab claws. Alaska, and all across Canada, have these tradition of growing berries or wild berries. And here's this one guy. This community was so honored, so impressed with the strawberry king of Alaska that they set up this display and restored his cabin. Meredith got into all sorts of the fish and food stories, And here you can see some of that. The other big event for us, one of the major events in the 2010s, was a trip we took to 5 places in the South Pacific. Fiji, Queensland, Australia. We went over to Bali in Indonesia, or New Zealand, of course, and then up to Hong Kong. So these were 5 different seasons. It was really interesting that we did that. And the purpose, the mission, was to discover what food heritage sites and stories are being preserved and to what extent they are available to the public. We did this similar thing all around France. Of course, we were very familiar with France. We were being paid to write a book, and we did a lot of research so that we knew what we were looking for. In this case, we went without any prior knowledge of these food cultures and interests in these places. So we were just open to discovery, which was wonderful. And we hope that that's a model for other travelers who can learn to experience food stories and have a reason for the trip. One of the things that we found that these 5 places had in common was the sweet potato. You can read about it there. So we flew from Los Angeles to the big island of Fiji, and it landed in Nadi. And one of the first things that we had to eat was Indian curries. You can see these guys were in the market there, and they have their potatoes and sweet potatoes and all their spices. The reason that so many Fijians have Indian ancestry is that the British colonialists brought over workers to do the hard work of the sugarcane, and many of them stayed. So in order to get a sense of what was going on, I left the small town of Nadi, where the airport is, and took this little van around the coast to the capital city of Suva. And along the way, we stopped in various places. People got on and off and eating and all that. So I just got to see how Fijians travel around their major island. And while we were waiting, I was looking at the newspaper and finding out just the latest news about focused on some of the preservations they're trying to do and make some of their farming more sustainable. So that became something that we did everywhere, is look at the local newspapers and watch the TV to get some clues as to what the food issues were. One of the popular things in the capital city, or I guess maybe much of the country, is cakes, I found out. And they have these cake takeaway places, and you can see them there on the left. Another thing that is extremely popular in the Pacific Islands, especially, is kava, and it's kind of a little bit of intoxicating beverage that here these guys are showing tourists the traditional way of making it. And you can at the airport store, you could buy one of these kava bowls, and you could go away with some of this processed powder. And you can see that the roots are hanging down there. It's a root of a pepper plant, and they would be processing and grinding it up and then soaking it. One of the things that we for sure did in all our travels is go to local museums. This is the National Museum of Fiji, and find out and focus on their food traditions and culture. And here, this is talking about their fishing traditions. Another thing we learned about was sea cucumbers, which was a huge trade. Chinese, especially, had found that sea cucumbers, bêche de mer, were a delicacy. And the sailors, Americans out of Salem, Massachusetts, were instrumental in this trade, and you can see the whole history of it in the museum. And here's a book written by Nancy Shoemaker, which is recalling Americans in 19th century Fiji, and the title is Pursuing Respect in the Cannibal Isles. The Cannibal Isles were because they got that nickname, unfortunately, because some of the tribal traditions were to actually consume the body or body parts of a defeated enemy, and the ruler at the time, I guess, was too delicate to eat the flesh for his hands. So they developed these special forks, cannibal forks, and you can see a photo of one of them. So back at the airport, ready to go. We were there for about 24 hours. You know, you could buy the Fiji water, which is not local around the world. Look at the potato chips. Of course, we're always on the lookout for that kind of thing. And then, of course, you could buy replicas of the cannibal forks. So we flew from Fiji to Auckland, North Island, New Zealand. This is how we stayed. We rented one of these vans. You could sleep in them, you could cook in them, all that. And we had a fabulous time in New Zealand. Again, we realized that sweet potatoes are a very important crop in New Zealand, as they were all the places that we went. Kumara. And this is one of my favorite pictures that I have, but it's not a very good reproduction of it. This is a community feast by the Maori, a community sweet potato feast, and they take them out of these barns or these cellars where they store the sweet potatoes after they've been harvested. Now, potatoes were introduced by the Europeans. The sweet potatoes have been there for years. Once the potatoes were introduced, they were easier to grow. They had no rituals associated with them, so the potatoes started to take over from sweet potatoes. And unfortunately, they were so productive and they were so valuable that they led to what is known potato wars, also known as the Musket Wars, that you can read about. It's a very sad, very destructive time in Maori, New Zealand history. This is something we learned about. There's certain places that have this geothermal power, these steam locations. You can no, let's go back. And so they have a tradition. The Maori have a tradition of these woven baskets, which they would put the food in, and then dip them into these and cook them in these pots. Another museum which has wonderful exhibits about the whole food traditions and the New Zealand history. You see a lot of those bags. So this is Rotorua, which is in the center of the North Island, and they have these it's very geothermic active area. It has been, so the people in the community would steam cook in this community hole, I guess you would call it, thermal hole. And then tourist attraction, they're doing the same thing over on the right, and people gather around and watching these foods being lowered in and cooked. And then everybody would gather around and eat all these things that have been cooked, including the pavlova. That was not boiled, but that's a wonderful cake that is shared, tradition is shared, or kind of a controversy between Australia and New Zealand. And then these are shows in which demonstrate Maori traditions. People get to practice the Maori tongue wagging, and this thing that they do with the twirling of some sort of a twirling thing. We also learned about a whitebait, which is a delicacy in the West Coast. These are juvenile fry of several native fish species that come in from the sea and come up the rivers to live, and the people net them. You see, they have a demonstration of this guy on the roof there of this one whitebait in, and they make them into fritters and all things, so it's quite a delicacy. Another thing that most people think about when they think about New Zealand is sheep, and here we enjoyed watching these sheepdogs rounding up the sheep into pens and moving them about. We also went to an Agorama show in New Zealand, which is all about their agriculture, and here was the pavilion in which they showed all the different breeds of sheep and showed how they shear them. And there's Meredith with a statue of one of the sheepdogs. The sheepdogs are just one of our most favorite things that we experienced down there. One of the specialties is oysters, and we went to several oyster farms and came away with a box one place. And here's Meredith eating oysters, and then she discovered that she's allergic to them, an adult onset allergy. So we were in, appropriately enough, a community called Puke, the Kiwi capital of the world. That's where we were headed to see about the Kiwis, but Meredith spent the night puking and doing other things, and we didn't really get to see much about the Kiwi industry. The next morning she was fine. Speaking of puking and other things, North Island, New Zealand is famous for this highly decorated public restroom, and you can see the beautiful way that this Austrian New Zealand artist Hundertwasser, who lived nearby, had this public restroom decorated. Another unusual thing that actually I didn't expect to see anything about food was these glowworm caves. And they take you on a boat and you go through this underwater, in this cave in this river, and you get to see these glowworms, phosphorescent, the little creatures, and it's just spectacular. But the entrance to this, the visitor center, is designed and built in the shape of an eel pot. Or eel trap. You can see one there, and inside, before the entrance, before you go down into the caves, there's a whole exhibit on the tradition, the Maori tradition of trapping and eating eels. On our way back to the airport, we stopped in this community. I think it's what is it? Aurora, I think, and I think it may be something to do with the hometown of the first man to conquer Everest in New Zealand, Edward Hillary. And they've made this is so spectacular. Any community could do this. This was kind of a walkway with these display cases, and each one of them has a different story to tell. Here's one about this cake that we were talking about, pavlova. And just about everything that was real New Zealand, especially food related, was in this own display case. Such an easy way to kind of have a community food museum. Very impressed with that. So then we went from New Zealand over to Queensland, Australia. This is the vehicle we rented and slept in, and there we are out on a barrier reef, scuba diving, or whatever you call snorkeling. That was one of the sort of the few non-food related activities that we did on this trip. Of course, we are always on the lookout for potatoes and potato growers, and they're over there up in the highlands above Cairns. And we didn't get down to the more southern part of Australia, where they grow a lot of more potatoes. You can see this one community is very proud of their potatoes. They have this big giant potato, and it was also the subject of a film, the Appleton Ladies Potato Race, which is kind of a fun film to see. Well, we did see very close by up in the Atherton Highlands up above Cairns, a very fertile area where they're growing bananas. They're growing peanuts. They have coffee plantations. This was a spectacular place, and really enjoyed visiting with them and seeing the coffee being grown and processed. There was even a coffee museum, which was just most comprehensive possible collection of coffee pots and coffee paraphernalia from all over the world. Very well done exhibit, and a nice restaurant and cafe. Then right near there were two different tea plantations. This one was more self-serve, the tea, and then this one was much more industrialized. They give you a tour of the fields and a close-up of the tea plants, and then they take you in to see the processing, and then they give you a full English clotted cream afternoon tea with all the jams and scones and all that. It was just a wonderful experience. We also, up in the tropical part, off the Atherton Highlands, went into all of these tropical fruit places, took a walk and got to taste all sorts of things. Some of these fruits I had no clue what they were, but they were deliciously made into ice creams. And another place that we went, this is completely unique to New Zealand, is the platypus area. It's kind of a stream where they live. They're kind of hard to see, but this pub, kind of an inn, specialized in, well, you can see the platypus is set into the concrete shadow of it, and that was a great meal that we had there. Two other wonderful animals that we came across was the cassowary, was a really huge, kind of a dangerous bird to get close to, but there's a there's a statue of it, and these wonderful tree kangaroos, which we enjoyed seeing in this other part of the tropical part of Queensland. So from Queensland, Australia, we crossed to Bali in Indonesia and went to the city of Ubud, which is up in the rice growing area. And the whole purpose of the trip there was to get to close up with rice and the rice culture, which Meredith and I are not terribly familiar with. So the couple of places we stayed, one of them had a room that literally overlooked a rice field, and then there was off the room was this viewing platform, a private viewing platform looking out over to this rice fields, and there you can see this family doing their hard work of planting rice. One of the features up above Ubud was this rice field walk, and it was just you would walk along these narrow trenches, these narrow paths between these flooded fields, and this place in the middle was a guest house that you could rent. And if we ever get back there, I certainly want to stay in the middle of this rice field. And here we are sitting, gazing at the rice, and the different processes. Here's a little rice seedling patch, and then some of these other places are these spectacular hillsides of terraced rice fields, which were just mind-blowingly beautiful, and is fascinating. Equally fascinating were the Indian runner ducks that are used to weed the rice fields and to get rid of the bugs and all that sort of thing. And we watched this guy come out in the morning over on the right with his flock of ducks ready to go, ready to work. Here's another guy doing the same thing, and you can see how adept you can be walking on these narrow ridges that separate the terraces. We noticed that these ducks were honored in decorations, and this is, I think, along a paving or something, and then this was an artwork, and then we were able to acquire later this wood sculpture of one of these ducks. They not only have these ducks working hard, but they eat them. Dirty Duck Diner, there you go. And I think I did try a duck. You can see it. We ate so well in Bali, and just such a extraordinarily rather inexpensive feasts that we would have. Also got up close watching the harvest, because in Bali they're growing. They have rice is like 3 or 4 different stages of growth, and in this case we came across them the harvesting, and I got a chance to try it. There's an artwork. There's lots of artworks associated with it. We went to a museum, the Subak Museum, in a town west of Ubud that explains the whole history of rice, and especially the rice irrigation system. And right down away from the museum was, right in the middle of the street, was this statue of them bringing the rice in, and you can see the mother and the child moving down. So we also learned, so at this museum they had a demonstration of the irrigation system outside, which brings water from the volcano mountainous areas and funnels it all the way down across the island. And this is a serious the irrigation system developed in the 9th century, and it's been maintained, and it's honored, and it's celebrated, and there are rituals associated with it. A painting that I just enjoyed and I did not buy was this father and son. They're out eeling in the dusk. These terraces, rice terraces, flooded rice terraces, are places where they also cultivate eels. I didn't buy that. I wished I had, but I did buy this. We did buy this rice doll. It's of Dewey Sri, I think I'm pronouncing it right, who is the goddess of the rice cultivation, and have her. Excuse me. Then from Bali, Indonesia, we flew to Hong Kong. We had a 24-hour layover. The airport is on the island of what is it? Forgotten the name of the island. Lauton. And so it was suggested we go over to this this town on the west coast of it called Tai O, where the people live basically on houseboats and stilts and sort of the water. And they had a nice little museum which showed lots of traditions. I love this tea chest that they had. Here's some kids learning how to make these preserved eggs. There's a big thing of salt. So you can see some of the pictures of the way the people live on this little end of this island, a very, very end of the island, and Hong Kong. We enjoy markets wherever we go, and we try to eat. We ate in a very local restaurant. I'm not sure exactly what that pot was, but it was delicious. And watching what they were doing. And this woman's very carefully examining which fish this guy's going to get for her. You can see he had a lot of various containers with air bubbling to keep the fish specimens alive for customers. And this woman was, I don't know, she was cooking up all sorts of things on her little grill. There's those preserved eggs, and then some preserved salted fish that you could buy. There's the potatoes and sweet potatoes again. Some things we did recognize, some we didn't. But there's some of those eggs. We did recognize this guy, this Mao Zedong, leader of the Chinese Revolution, Communist Revolution, and here he is being depicted as just one of the people out there working in the fields with his sickle. It was unusual. I didn't expect to see references to him in modern China, but there he was. So when we got back to the States, Meredith and I were, well, this is a long one. Meredith and I did this book on the potato heads. And then I did 2 books about Washington, D.C. with focus on food, Alleys of Washington, D.C. and the hot potato capital of the world. I think that Washington, D.C. should have a nickname, and it should be the hot potato. This is another book that I did, which is focusing on the food heritage sites that we think should be honored, and some other books on the same subject, which you can learn about in the description. And our whole project, the Global Food Heritage Project, and why food heritage matters are also there. So more details on this are in the description of this video. You can subscribe to the Potatoes Show. It's free. It's a way to follow us. And we do enjoy responding to your messages. And next up, our potato and other tasty food pursuits in the 2020s. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.